Built in 1897 by George Sinclair and son for William Corbett, this home in Umtentweni on the KwaZulu-Natal South Coast was also owned by Colonel, later Brigadier General, John Robinson Royston, who was affectionately known as Galloping Jack. Royston named the property after the Battle of Romany Hill, in which he took part. In 1980, the home was reportedly struck by lightning, which caused a fire and damaged the upper floor of the home and the grand wooden stairway. Although the house has since been renovated and repaired, the South Coast Herald reported on December 15, 2000, that the staircase still bears the scars left by the fire. This is the story of Royston Hall.
The house was originally built in 1897 for Captain Hitchens, who had shipping interests in the Currie shipping line, and their ships were loaded here in the Port Shepstone harbour, and they transported sugarcane and marble and lime from upriver and from here out overseas and to Durban and overseas and so on. And the funny part is that this poor man built this house for his wife as a beach cottage. Now I'm sure he meant to be very romantic and said, "Ta-da, here's your beach cottage." But Mrs. Hitchens was not amused. She arrived here, her and her family were stationed in Durban on the Ria and running a big household there. But she would have arrived here by steamer and alighted on the harbour on the south side of the river. We're on the north side. And she would have come across the old Clickety-Clack Bridge, which is a whole history on its own again, because that bridge was built for the train when the train started coming across, but it was a multi-purpose bridge because the oxen and ox wagons also came on that same bridge, and it was set in such a way that the oxen could walk on either side of the train line. When the first little 4D vehicle arrived, it also went across that same bridge. And but she would have gone on a horse-drawn cart from the south bank across the Umzimkhulu River, that's where we are, on the north bank up to this river road, which was the original road to the rest of East Griqualand, and then landed up in Cape Town. There was no other way to cross this river than in front of us here along our river frontage. Then I don't actually know what happened to him then, but our famous man, Brigadier General John Robinson Royston, lived here before he purchased the house. I must have rented it from him because there's documentation signed as the address. And he was a cavalryman of note of the First World War. And that's a while ago. So he was a larger-than-life man in personality, character, and build. He was a very big, strong-built man. He fought in various wars, starting when he ran away from school in Durban. And he was obviously, his parents were from Britain, and he was at school at Durban Boys High. And then there was the first outbreak of uprisings up the North Coast. And he asked his dad if he could go and join, and his dad said, "No, you finish school first before you go to the army." But he never listened to anybody. He mounted his horse and clippity-clopped up the North Coast and went and joined the British troops there who were quelling the uprising. When he died, he had decreed that he had to be buried in front of the house here, 20 paces or so from the front door, because he wanted to mind his dearly beloved Mildred in death as he minded her in life. Wasn't very successful because she was murdered here. She stayed on after his death for 17 years by herself. She had a footpath where our precarious driveway is now, up to the nearest little cafeteria shoppy up top here. And she used to go every day to get the bread and milk and the newspaper, and she befriended the shopkeepers. Then one day she didn't arrive, and she was found murdered here. Now the motive must have been all the weaponry that she had exhibited all throughout the public areas here, where I now have grandchildren. She had guns and knives and swords, and of course all these memorabilia out here, almost like a shrine for her dearly beloved John Robinson Royston. And the gardener must have seen that and decided she's gone walking off, and he knows how long it takes, and he nipped into the house to steal stuff. But she turned back because the teapot was forgotten on the Aga stove in the kitchen. And when she came in, she heard somebody in her bedroom. She went up there, she apprehended this man, and she put up a fight of note. When the detectives finally arrived here, they found the body wrapped in a Persian rug behind the alcove. Now, I can't find another alcove in this house, except the bay window must have been here. They say there was a two-seater couch, and she was behind it in the Persian rug. The detective found a daffodil yellow button clasped in her hand, which he retrieved, put in his pocket, and he went and staked out the bus terminal, where he quickly found the labourer with a daffodil yellow shirt with a button missing. So after due process, the man was found guilty for the heinous crime, and he was hung for the murder of Mildred.
Hey you guys, we have discovered a stunning gem again on the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal. We are at Royston Hall, far down the south coast, close to Port Shepstone, close to Port Shepstone. We've discovered this gem of a place called Royston Hall. With me I've got Ria, the owner of the place, who's going to take us through this amazing, beautiful place, who will tell us a bit of the history and share some of the experiences here and show you what this place can offer today for people that want to come and visit. Ria, I'm giving it over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. This is my home. I seem to be different from the other people because they've got management, but this is very much a hands-on home, and we bought it with the intention of changing it into a guest house because it's way too big for two people that were pretty close to retirement age at that stage. But I have a passion for this house, and I've had it for, I think it's about 47 years since the first time I met it, but that's another story. So after many years, we managed to buy the house, and my excuse was that I want to make a guest house of it so we can have a business into old age. And how hard can it be to make beautiful breakfasts for a couple of esteemed guests until you walk around in a little walker or with a walking stick? It can still be done. So welcome to Royston Hall. Let me take you around and show you the rooms. Please just focus on this. It is the most amazing picture I happen to own. The viewer might not be able to read that so quickly, but it is pirates who came ashore here at Amzimkulu, our river here, and let me just see here, it says the British frigate Wingate chased them to here. They came on a small boat out. They ran for their lives here. They must have been very bad people. And some of them went to Maritzburg, some stole horses, got there, some went on foot, and some stayed and became respectable. So I would wonder whose ancestors are in actual fact pirates. This is the original harbour wall. The house is in the back there. This is the harbour wall, Port Shepstone, and that was the Customs and Excise office. This is the way the people dressed in those days, and I'm seriously pleased that I don't have to run around in 20 petticoats and an ankle length dress all my life. And there's the house. That little white dot is the house. Let me take you through to the dining room. The dining room suite is my late mother-in-law's dining room suite. I just had it reupholstered, and I got creative here with her wardrobe, and I made it into a drinks cabinet. I don't have any important pieces here that are seriously antique, but they're vintage and they suit the house, and that was my aim in furbishing the house, is to not make it look like a museum. So I've used very modern colors like the lime green, avocado green. I've run throughout the house on the ground floor to kick off the old pieces in front of it, and just to give it that little lift that I don't want anybody to say it's a museum that we're going to spend the weekend at. It's our home, and it must be warm and welcoming. There are 5 fireplaces in the house, and the overmantel is of the right period, but it's not original, because remember now the house stood derelict for many years in between each owner for various very good reasons, but it was ever so often just left to deteriorate, which is a sadness. But I'm very pleased that in the years that it was standing derelict, nobody stole the woodwork or the Oregon pine floors, which would have gone now. The oil lamp is also authentic of the period, but the lady we bought the house from left it for us. She could have put a single globe there, I'm sure, but she left it for us and the workings to actually electrify it. And I said, no, I don't want to put electricity in there. It's perfect. I'd rather have bottom lighting and leave it there just as a conversation piece. This was my 69th birthday gift from my husband. I'll give you a little taste of it. It's a real His Master's Voice record player, and I was so excited to get it. Oh, and I must just add, it's so interesting, there's no sound control on these things. The English saying, I've put a sock in it, comes from here. The only way they could dampen the sound down is to stuff a ball of socks in the front of it. That is how it worked.
This will be the first time that I hear something like this playing live.
Now listen up. And the only way you can stop it is to lift off the needle. There you go. That was a perfect gift for me.
Wow.
I am of Afrikaans heritage, and I think it's rather amusing that there's just the odd little Afrikaner in the Brigadier General John Robinson Royston's home. So this is Rempi's couch bunk, and it has its own history all in all, but I'm very pleased to have it. And this is the library. I try hard to entice my guests to come and take a book and someone come and read, but people don't do that anymore. It's so sad. what they do is they read on their cell phones or their tablets. But I have a very fabulous array of history books through to study books, birds, trees, novels, all kinds of things here. These images here are all the uniforms of the people Royston has fought against and with. And that is Royston himself down there under the sword with his red jacket on. And you know what was very interesting is that apparently British officers, if they weren't born in England, they were not issued with bayonets. They weren't considered to be gentlemen. So in the heat of battle they had to turn their guns around and attack the opponent with the back of the rifle. I think they resented that a bit. And there are more uniforms from the Zulus and the Scottish Islanders and the Boer and the everybody. It's a sad fact that during the Anglo-Boer War, well, sad for the English, because they had these bandoliers going crosswise over their uniforms, made a perfect target for the guerrilla fighters, which were the Afrikaans troopers that they were fighting against. It worked well as a target. And another thing that was sad is with the Scottish people, not only just them, the British too, they eventually gave them shorts because it's so incredibly hot here by comparison to England. But, you know, they'd lie on the Free State koppies in the sun, and the back of their knees burned so severely that they couldn't fight, they couldn't walk. You know, those of us that have had suntan on the back of our knees know about that. I'd like to just also add in that because Royston was a musician and him and Mildred entertained lavishly here, they had all-night parties here where Royston would set up his band in the sitting room, and shall we go there? Let me tell you. And then they would dance the night away. Now imagine the ladies with their long fabulous dresses. They'd come in horse-drawn carts and they would alight here. That used to be the front door. And then they would dance in huge circles, going out the front door through that foyer there, around the veranda that wraps around on three sides, through the library, through this foyer, through the lounge, and great circles until it was time for the sun to come up. And just before sun up they would send a servant to call the carriages up, and these people would flop into their carriages under blankets and be taken home, probably to sleep until noon at least. Come, let me take you to the lounge. This is a pretty piece, I love it. It's a problem for me to ever think of going away here because everything's got a story. I bought this about 46 years ago at Mr. Schmuljan's second-hand shop in Port Shepstone, and I freaked when I saw it. I loved it, and he gave me a price. I said, "Oh, Mr. Schmuljan, no, I can't afford that." And he said, "Well, how much can you?" And I gave him a figure there, and he said, "But for cash?" I said, "Yes, of course." And I said, "Oh, I'm so excited, thank you, thank you." And I made space on his desk, and I sat down with my checkbook. He says, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I'm paying you for the sideboard." He says, "But you said cash." Oi, vey. I said, "Well, I don't know. I thought 6 months is the same as cash." So he says, he says, no, I drive him crazy. And I said, "Mr. Schmuljan, while we're at it now, will you please deliver it to us because we don't have a van to bring it." So that's my story about the sideboard. And this is the sitting room. And we have had and will be having more soirees here with fabulous entertainers. Then we take all this furniture out and we put chairs, cinema style, and we fit in 36 people here, and the performers do their act over there, and they put spotlights on, and it is very exciting. And if it's in winter, I serve them glue wine. And what I did was I used sheet music, and I turned little cones, and I roasted nuts and served them hot roasted nuts and glue wine as they arrive from the front door. The piano is my pride and joy. It's a Ruud Ibach's piano, and it is much older than what the house is. The house is now 125 going on around there. But this was brought in, the story goes, by Barney Barnato. He was a clever man because he saw the need for entertainment for the people who came to dig for gold and diamonds. So he set up these salons and hotels, and they had lunch dances, afternoon dances. And so I brought 3 of these pianos in from Germany, and this one was earmarked for Luderitz, and it was in the Princess Hotel, which doesn't exist anymore. And then from there it travelled across the continent, and it landed up in Potgietersrus in the Royal Hotel and the men's bar. And from there, my late father-in-law did a transaction with a hotel owner in the 1951, around there. He then sent a pantechnicon to fetch his piano from Potgietersrus, take it back to Johannesburg, and he had it refurbed then. Since then, this thing has been all over the country in the family, and it's taken a couple of hard knocks. And I actually like the casing old like that, because the rest of it here, all of us are old. This was the original bathroom. Because there were just 3 bedrooms up here. This house looks so massive, but it's really not. There were 3 bedrooms there, and this was the only bathroom. And then the beginning years after we bought here, I found that my overseas guests were perfectly happy to use their guest gowns, nightgowns, and trundle down the stairs and come and use the bathroom here. Because in England, that's how it works. But us South Africans each want their own bathroom, and it must be ensuite. Oh, and then I need to tell you, the burn marks on the floors were left here on the stairwell because the 3rd floor burned down about 30 years ago. And when we bought it, they'd restored most of the house, but they left this because they said it's part of the story. It's the history of the house, these burn marks. The 3rd floor was up there. And I refer to this room as my Africa room. It's not so much an ethnic room as bits and pieces from Africa that are important to me. And the staircase used to go, it wasn't really a staircase, it was like in Britain, those, looks like a ladder with flat rungs. Went up here to the top room. That burned down, and then I changed this into a bathroom for this room. And this is just, I refer to it as the 4-poster bedroom. number 6, the sunniest room, which is magnificent in winter. And summer, a little bit of a problem. And as you can see, the architraves are fabulous. They are Oregon pine. And I wonder where they brought it from. It could well have come from overseas. But some of the planks on the annexure in the house was bought from Knysna that were stamped to have also been of the same time period as here. And those sash windows come from a Jewish retirement home in Johannesburg that they demolished. And that front door is a door from a little chapel that was in Knysna and demolished, deconsecrated and demolished. And this was the original main bedroom. And as I said, there are 5 fireplaces in here. And a balcony. For the sake of guest house, it's a pity that they both need to share this balcony. I just always say, be courteous to the neighbours. Consider them. I like putting curtains in front of built-in cupboard because I just like a bank of doors, and I just trimmed it to be pretty. It aerates the contents and it acts as a sound damper. When you've got only flat surfaces in the room, there are blinds and things, so there aren't other curtains that can absorb sound. And this is the bathroom. The bath is original. Okay, this is part of the annexure that was built later, much later, like say 50 years ago. And this room was built for the previous owner's late mother. This was part of the annexure that was built for the old lady, and it was a sitting room. I put a drywall into the passage here to divide it and make 2 bedrooms, because now the purpose is different. You know, they wanted a flatlet for the old lady, and I wanted guest rooms. This is also a new room, it's not part of the old. But as you might see, we've used as many old appointments as we can to keep the mood the same, with these incredible sash windows.